So the first key fact that we need to know to truly understand this is 95% of consumers buy based on emotions. How? So, what? Okay. So basically what this stat says that we may think that we make rational buying decisions, but most of the times subconsciously we make most of our decisions subconsciously. So before you think that, oh, I saw the ingredients, I saw the packet, I saw all of this and I made a very informed decision. Believe it or not, it's certain exposures before we saw that packet or certain interactions we had with people while talking about the brand. These things contribute to you when you make a buying decision, which is why precisely you buy from reputed brands, and you would not buy from small brands that you've not heard of, correct? So the first thing I'm going to go about is something that I kind of crafted by myself. So it's my marketing cycle basically. It's how I have understood marketing and what I think marketing is about today. So at the beginning of time, so the earliest form of business, they were just small businesses. So there's not that much information. So all the information you have is basically, you see someone and he has his fruits or vegetables on display and you're like, okay, that looks fresh and you're going to buy from him. And then you have a relationship with him and then you trust him. So you trust him to the level that you think that, oh, he's not going to scam me, he's not going to overcharge me, he's always going to give me the best vegetables. It's going to be like that. Okay, but then what happens is, usually where do these sales happen? In bazaars, where there are many vegetable people in one place. Right? So now you don't know which vegetable guy to buy from. Right? So what happens is trust. So trust was the first stage of the cycle. So you trust one particular person, like I said, and that person usually gives the vegetables to you or whatever product you would buy at a bazaar. And then suddenly you had many people selling the same thing in one place. So what happens then? Now you don't know, should I go and buy from this guy or should I buy from that guy? And you just don't want to buy based on your relationship you have with somebody. So what happened, what came about was differentiation. Okay, so then came differentiation because there were too many sellers in one place. And then after that came the crazy advertising era. Okay, for anybody who has watched Mad Men or you've seen, even today it prevails, it's tons of advertising. So you have like hundreds of nail polishes having thousands of advertisements promising millions of things. Okay, and then suddenly what happens in this stage is you just don't know who to trust anymore. Because Lakme is saying something, and then at the same time another fashion brand is saying something else. And then you just don't know where to trust. So actually what I believe is the human brain was not built for this situation. Okay, we were not built to process this much information because we just like shortcuts. So our minds started creating shortcuts. So if we see something on an ad, we just believe it and then we buy it. But then we know what happened after that. Many people, many products failed. They didn't deliver as what they were promised. There were certain things that were marketed so well that didn't even happen. And I think many of you have heard of the Fire Festival. Right? The festival that never happened. And it was advertised with all the supermodels in the world. And then at the end, it never happened. Okay, so what happens after the crazy advertising era is people want to go back to the normal, which is today, again. So that is trust. So we're coming back a full circle to trust again. Okay, so that's why you see customer relationship management, such a key factor today. And like how people want to connect with customers, how they want people to trust brands. And quality, guarantee, 5-star ratings, recommendations, everything you see today is because we're coming back a full cycle. Right? So this is my understanding of marketing. It's also just my opinion, so you don't have to believe me. But this is how I go about it. And then we come to positioning. So in your class, you will learn this in a much more fancy way. But I'll break it down to a dumb version, which I like because I don't like fancy terms. And that is, positioning in simple terms is just another word for differentiation, right? It's just you trying to set yourself apart from the rest. But the key difference for positioning today as compared to before is that differentiation just means you say something and you try to be different, right? But positioning is a little more deeper, like you drill down into the minds of the consumers. And let's say, for example, I'll give you some examples here. Volvo wants, every time you think about safety, when it comes to automobiles, Volvo wants you to think about them. It's that simple. That's what positioning is. So, and one company that has successfully done it is obviously Apple. As you all know, like at the end of the day, I think there's a very famous quote by Steve Jobs. He said, we empower people to do things creatively. and then we make computers, right? So the whole point about positioning is it's about drilling down deep into the customer's mind and trying to make customers think a certain way about a brand. And why is it important? Because as we know today, in every segment there is millions of competitors. Especially with the emergence of globalization, you have companies from Sweden, companies from America, companies from India, all competing for the same customer. Right? So that makes differentiation all the more important today. Yeah. So now this is maybe something you're not learned yet. Okay, so this is the IDA model to boost your content marketing. So I purposely put the content marketing model, but because today what we're mainly dealing with is in some way content marketing. Okay, but the IDA model is important because it has 4 steps. And periodically, basically, it says that you move through these 4 steps chronologically before you buy something. And the first step is attention. So something grabs your attention. For example, if I see a really fancy package of tea and that grabs my attention, right? The next thing is interest. So now interest is where I want to know more about this product, right? So I read the ingredients, or maybe I go online and I research something about it. I want to see what people are saying, right? So that's the interest part about it. Desire is basically now you're at the stage saying that I want that product. Okay, I really want that product because I feel that product will be beneficial to me. And then finally we have the action stage, which means I'm buying the product or I'm not buying the product. Okay, so the thing is, it's basically a funnel. So as you go, many people get aware, lesser people get interested, lesser people have the desire to buy, and finally few people want to buy. So what companies do is they do mass marketing, get as many people into the attention stage, and then slowly they take them down the funnel. Some convert, some don't. Okay, so in terms of content marketing, basically how attention sells is they usually go by, you need a good headline, you need good visuals, you need a good copy. So these things come in the attention bracket. Okay, and in the interest bracket usually this is the toughest side because it's lot of things grab our attention on the internet today. Correct, like when you're just scrolling, you see a random post from a random account that you don't even follow, but it suddenly grabs your attention. But the thing is, can it maintain your interest? That is the tougher thing. Okay, so that has to be something interesting, and how to make things interesting, I'll get to in a little bit. Finally, desire, like I said, so interest and desire more or less closely related. It comes under the consideration stage, basically. So it's when people consider you among other people. So desire is like, would I follow this account? Have I seen enough content pieces from this person, that has really interested me in a way that I would love to follow this person regularly. That would be desire. And finally, action. So action is on the internet basically means you follow an account, or in business sense, you would buy a product. So it just means a conversion at the end of the day. Oh. So guys, remember this slide, very important. Okay, it will help you like in marketing. If you want to understand marketing, you need to understand how people buy. And this is the first framework anybody will tell you how people buy. And this will be a little more important once we come to the future slides as well. Okay, this is the first time I'm doing like a 1 hour talk, so I just made a slide to waste some time. Okay. So what's today primarily about? Okay, so I think we wanted to keep this a little bit of a secret, but now it's time for you all to answer. So it's the first time you guys get to be interactive in the session. So the thing is, now there's a dash, okay, and you guys have to fill it. So what is this marketing strategy called? There's enough hints on the poster. There's definitely enough hints in what Karthik has announced in classes. So what do you think fills this dash? Excellent. Good job, guys. clap yourself. Yeah. Exactly. So it is Amul's moment marketing strategy. Okay, so now we are going to go into what is moment marketing first before we actually go into why Amul is doing it and whether it actually helps them. Let's see. So what is moment marketing? So as you guys will see throughout this presentation, there are no official definitions because official definitions are very hard to grasp. So I try to make things that are pretty easy to grasp so that you know what it is, because that's more important than knowing what the exact words are to define something. So moment marketing is basically brands latching onto trending conversations. Or actually these trending conversations are called events, but event marketing already exists, so we can't replace that. So basically what they've changed it to is moment marketing. So these events are called moments basically. So this is a very famous thing. Can someone tell me what this is? I heard iPhone somewhere. What did iPhone do to spark all of this? Exactly. So it was iPhone 11 Pro which became the first phone to come out with 3 cameras. And people obviously thought that, oh, now iPhone is just taking us for a ride. Because every year they're just doing some small increments and making people pay so much more for a new phone. So all these conversations started around the iPhone. For example, the first one is a chai company, the second one is Swiggy, and then you have McDonald's. But there's one key thing that unites all these companies. Yeah, none of them have anything to do with the iPhone, actually. Right? So I hope you guys didn't see the answer. Now, what marketing challenge does? First, you guys can just name some challenges, marketing challenges brands usually have. Anyone? You can just say it, it doesn't have to be correct. There's no prizes today, don't worry. What are some challenges businesses face in general?
To keep up with the pace.
Good.
Competitors.
Competition, good. Yeah.
Antitrust action.
That's actually very important, antitrust. Okay, so I showed you the IDA model, for example, attention. So basically attention also involves awareness, right? You want people to be known for your brand. So the one main fundamental marketing problem that moment marketing fixes is awareness. Okay, I'm not giving anyone points for guessing because I know most of this all. So before we get to this, the question is, how does moment marketing solve awareness? Right? So just imagine you don't know a brand. Okay, now let's just say that none of us knew Nike. Okay, and tomorrow, if Nike just comes and tells you, hey, I'm Nike, they have to spend millions of dollars just to tell you that they're Nike. Because otherwise you're not going to care. It's that simple. But let's say we all know some recent event that happened. Shubman Gill has become the 5th cricketer to basically, hit hundreds of 3 formats. So what happens is Nike suddenly says something in relation to that. Everyone's already thinking that, oh, Shubman Gill, is the 5th batsman to hit 3 centuries in all formats. And suddenly Nike is also there. And suddenly you pay more attention for something, and they wouldn't even have to pay a lot of money. It might be one simple Instagram post that grabs your attention. For example, if you saw those iPhone 11 creators, there are brands in that you don't know. There are brands that are also renowned. But the thing is, almost all those creators get your attention, right? Because it doesn't matter about the size of the business. It matters, it's more of the creative aspect and the fact that you're already worried about this topic. I wouldn't say worried, but you're talking about it, it's on your mind. Right? And that's what businesses try to capitalize on when they come up with a solution. So this is a very fun topic. As you guys would have seen, that there's a lot of moments that come across and how brands are utilized. Does anybody know which moment this one is? The caption is, don't slip 4442, you can get a whole room. Anyone?
Some famous personality slipped somewhere, right?
No, famous personality is correct. Slip somewhere is wrong. Okay, so I'll give the answer. So basically, there's an actor called Rahul Bose. I think some of you might know, some of you might not. So he went to a 5-star hotel, and then he got a really big bill. And the really big bill had like 442 rupees for 2 bananas. Okay, and what happened was, it became such a big thing that people just kept talking about it. And suddenly, brands joined in on the conversation as well. And which was, one of them was obviously Oyo. So in a nice way, they just said that for 442 bucks, you can just get a whole room. Right? Instead of just buying 2 bananas, for example. And so the whole fundamental philosophy of this is movement marketing is really just common sense. It was not some genius move from Amul to start this, or a genius move from anybody, as a matter of fact. At the end of the day, it's common sense, because it's what people do plus what brands want. Right? They bring both these things together and it becomes movement marketing. So people talk about stuff that they like to talk about, brands also get into the conversation, and together brands also get what they want, is that people talk about it. People get what they want because people just talk about what they want. Right? Okay, so now not everything is movement marketing. Okay. So there is like 3 key factors that makes movement marketing. And 3 factors that are very tightly related to its success. Even if you miss one, then suddenly you're in the middle of nowhere. You'll be wondering, oh, why aren't people reacting to this? Okay? So the first thing is, it should be trending. So many things happen every day. Okay? March 5th is my birthday. March 5th can also be a day where something important happens. Okay? So the thing is, if Amul made a post on my birthday, then people wouldn't really care. Because they'd be like, who's this? As simple as that, right? But if there was some very important news event that happened and Amul made a post on that, people would care, right? And we, in a little bit, there are a few numbers, and you will see, how important it is for something to be trending, for example. And it should be relevant. Now, this has to be relevant to 2 people. One is the people itself. So that is, your target customer must be talking about this. For example, if it's people like our age, we usually like pop culture. So if something happens in pop culture and if the brand is able to link that to its brand, then yeah, it makes sense. But again, this brand also has to be a brand that's made for us, right? If you imagine some brand that our parents like and is suddenly talking about M&M now, it wouldn't really get your attention. You'd be wondering why this brand is actually doing it. And what's worse, even our parents will be wondering the same. And our parents are the ones who are actually buying from us, right? So it needs to be important to its target customers and also important to the brand. Finally, it has to be valuable. Now, believe it or not, most of the things you can share is valuable to you, even if you don't realize it. And I'll tell you why. It's a very important term called social currency. So, for example, there are 2 things. So that edutain is like, it's just a term. So it means educate or entertain. Or both. Okay? So the thing is, if you see anything funny that you share, for example, you send it on your friend group on Instagram or on WhatsApp, it entertains you, right? And you feel that if I share it with someone, it gives me social currency because it makes me look cool. Because now they're laughing because I see them. Correct? The same thing happens with education. If you send something valuable to people, they'll think, oh, wow, this person has sent this thing. I think he's really smart, right? Even if you're not. So, the thing is, and then some brands do it very well. Okay? There's education and entertainment together, which is actually what Amul does. And for example, if you just look at this, A, B, beats C. Okay, so it's basically when Amitabh Bachchan beat cancer. So, there's obviously an entertainment aspect to it. Like, Amul, it's like entertainment doesn't mean always has to be funny, right? In some way it entertains people. They like, there are a lot of fans for this collection itself, right? Whatever Amul has come across. And in terms of education also, I don't mean like the education you get in class. It just means being informed. And if someone didn't read the news that day, they would know that Amitabh Bachchan beat cancer by just looking at this. Right? So the whole point is, if a content piece is able to educate and entertain at the same time, it actually becomes viral, believe it or not. Okay? Cool. So now I'll take a break. And it's time to get a little more, it's time for you all to be a little more interactive. Okay? So I want you guys, so now this is yesterday's highlight. So you guys know that Shubhankar, as I said already, has become the first Indian to hit, the 5th Indian to hit 103 formats. So Amul has already made an eye on this. But I'm not expecting Amul level creativity, don't worry. Okay? So in terms of giving you guys freedom, you guys can pick any brand you want. Okay? Now you guys know what moment marketing is. It's basically, like I said, brands latching on to a conversation that's already happening. Okay, so how would you picking any brand you want, link this story to that brand. Okay, we'll have, let me just check the time. It's 4:18, so 10 minutes, okay? 7 minutes, okay? You guys have 7 minutes, you can use your phones if you all want. Preferably not, I don't think you need it. But if you're genuinely using it for the exercise, in 7 minutes, you guys can come up with a nice moment marketing ad. Okay, I'll just go to the back, the first slide, so you guys have a reference. This is what Amul did. Okay, so for a completely different topic, because I know if I show that topic suddenly, everyone will be like, oh, even I thought about it. Yeah, so you guys can pick any other brand, preferably not Amul. Okay, maybe like any of your favorite brands. It doesn't have to be the best, but try to make an attempt and try to crack this up. Okay, I'll take like a 500.
Hey, all that. They are creative.
St. John's world's one of the St. John's awarded global reason the world's largest shrine dedicated to St. Joseph's recently I think 2 days back celebrated 100 years. So I tried to tie that to the century which he got. But I didn't actually get a particular match. But whatever I was thinking of I can get that.
You seem very keen to tell.
Nice.
Okay, Byju's score like Shuman.
Byju's is all about, maybe you could have been more precise, like score hundreds, because that's the highest you get in an exam also. So, but yeah, that is a very good attempt. It actually links the brand and Shuman.
So the main reason why I'm coming here is because of gracious. So now I'll say the answer. So since Shubman Gill is scoring 100 consecutively and very easily, we'll say, well, that's what we thought, me, Karan and my friends, that we'll say Amul Macho Bade Aram Se.
Yeah, okay. It's nice. I think he's very proud when he claps for himself. Does anyone else want to give it a shot? Someone else who thinks they have absolutely nailed the science? Okay, no one? Okay, Ishan wants to go.
So with Siat in his hand, Shubman is able to score 10,000 plus runs, and with Siat on your wheels, you can easily go 10,000 miles.
So yes, definitely. Okay, I think that is, if Siat ever had to make an ad on this, they would do that. Okay. So, one more person. Yeah, come. It's okay. This is a student thing.
So we took up our brand as LIC and we made our ad as make your will as strong as you.
Oh. Wow. So that also is a very good play on words. So I think that's exactly what Amul does. So someone's listening. Okay. So now we'll go to the next slide. Okay, so now we'll go more into what Amul does, okay? Because like I said, moment marketing is a little broad, and even though the ideology is similar, brands do it in their own ways. Okay, so this whole thing was about Amul, as you can see there's a really cool poster here. So we're going to now go into what Amul does, right, precisely. So the first thing they do is, they identify key conversations within India. Because it's an Indian brand for Indian consumers. So only if people in India are talking about it, they'll make a post on. For example, you would have seen they made a post on the Pathan movie. They made on Shubman Gill. Like you already saw the Amitabh Bachchan one. As you can see, these things were also like topics that were spoken about in India. For example, I think this is when Bitcoin crashed, and that is when something happened in the match. Okay. So the thing is, as long as the thing is spoken about in India, Amul thinks, okay, that's a very good topic to make a post on. The next thing is they use their own design elements. So this is one thing that sets Amul's thing apart from everybody else. So until now, all the examples I've shown you, if for example the one with the Nescafe with the 3 coffees, if I actually change the brand to another coffee brand, you would think it's that coffee brand. It's that simple. But here, if I remove Amul's logo, so you'll still know it's Amul. And the main reason is because, as you can see, it's always the design. It's always animated, and not just animated. If you look at the face shapes they use for all the people that characters that they display, it's usually like in line with the mascot's face shape. Okay, you will also see the blush even on blue characters. So that's also there, and like it has like a very it has a look and feel about it. Like it's very consistent. Like if you look at the headline, and then you'll always see there's a headline and there's something at the footer. Next thing you see is almost all the time there's a butter. There's a butter, or there's yellow fingers, or there's bread and butter. So if one thing you know is that's why our association with Amul is stronger on the butter side than it is with milk or anything else. Right? It's because Amul drills down this in our mind. Like every time we think, oh, what a nice post, and you're laughing. But like I said, everything is subconscious. So at the end of the day, there's a reason we like Amul butter more than other butters. It's because of this. Okay. And like I said, the other things are we use funny language. So for people who don't know puns, it's exactly what she did. It's a play on words. Okay. And if you can see Super Bitcoin, Baggy Bitcoin, it's just they just make puns, regularly, and they have butter reference. So sometimes you would see the butter or stuff or in it. Sometimes you also see lines that are, in line with butter. For example, maybe somewhere in some other creator down the line, you'll probably see it. If it's there, I'll spot it, but I've seen it in like many, but nothing's coming to mind. Okay. So these are the key things that are there in Amul's advertisements when it comes to moment marketing. Now, these are the advantages of Amul. First, most important thing, it makes Amul relevant. Okay, if you see, this has started like a long time ago. Even before the internet, it was in newspapers, right? So the thing is, and if you look at it, if you look at the Amul girl, I think she was coined in like 1960s, if I'm not wrong. That's a really long.
A few years ago.
1950.
No. She turned 50 a few years ago.
See, as
The
these
Amul girl on the advertisement.
she turned 50 a few days ago.
A few years ago.
Few years ago. Okay. So the thing is, like, she's a pretty old character, right? But she's still so relevant today. And one of the main reasons is down to this. So the brand has been able to keep her relevant without changing her appearance much, without changing her costume, nothing. Because they've always kept her with current affairs, right? People are always talking about Amul, they're talking about the girl, the Amul girl, because she's always related to the current affairs, right? And it's obviously led to fandom. Like there are a lot of people who are big fans of this comment. So Dean sir is one of them. And much I can tell you for sure. Okay.
Not the Amul girl in real life.
Yeah, I mean the other comment, not on Twitter also. So the thing is, you will also see some numbers in a bit that shows you, like there is a pretty big fan base for something like this. It does spark conversation, and I don't mean like I said, brands can't create these conversations. So I'm not saying that people talk about, for example, like we saw in the previous thing, MS Dhoni because Amul made the ad, but because MS Dhoni did that, and people spoke about MS Dhoni and Amul made the ad, people now talk about Amul. So it sparks conversations about the brand. Okay, it keeps the brand top of mind. This is the most important thing. Okay, how many of you have Amul butter at home? That's all. No way. What else do other people use? Okay. So I'm really fans of it. Okay. Finally, it does something that's very important for brands today. It makes brands human at the end of the day. Because one thing is, as you would realize, what's happening today is we interact with brands the same way that we interact with other people. Like brands are also people to us. The same way we would interact, because humans value relationships at the end of the day, right? So it makes Amul human, so it makes it easier for people to interact with the brand itself. Okay, so now you can use your phone again for another activity. This is very short, okay? I'm going to do 5 minutes around. Scan this code and vote. Then we'll get to another very important question. Okay. Okay, so these are some of the notable brands we put on the screen. So if you're not using any of these 4 brands of buttons, sorry, I don't know what to say. But is it Patanjali butter for you? Oh, okay. If I ever get a chance to do this talk again, I'll add it. Just so you shall. Okay, I take it most of us are voted, right? So before we go to the next slide, I just want you to see that Amul is at 65%, while the second highest is Nandini Butter at 16%. Which actually contradicts all the hand raising that happened like a few minutes ago. Okay, so we just go to the next slide. So as you see, Amul Butter is like pretty high, okay, 68%, which is almost like, that means 30% has been like, this is about 30% has been shared by all the other brands, right? Not even the ones